Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the NBA Breakdown, Monday, March 9th. Joining me are Nate Svensson, our Jazz fan and Swede. And also joining me is Reader, a.k.a. The Gerbs. So we do not have Russell Westbrook tonight, nor James Harden, so we can expect some lower scores in our lineups without Russ's complimentary 80 fantasy points. We have a wonderful 8-game slate. Let's just jump right into the games. First game, we've got Washington versus Charlotte. 189.5 over-under, minus 2.5 for Charlotte. In terms of fantasy options, not necessarily the best game to choose from. For Charlotte, I think one guy to target might be Al Jefferson at 7,700. Not a great matchup for Al Jefferson, but the price tag might be low enough to where if he starts stringing together a few games, he's going to be hitting 35 fantasy points.
I would stay away from Big Al tonight just because it's going to be tough for him going up against Nene and Gortat all night. He's only averaging 13 points a game in their 2 meetings so far this year, so maybe stay away from Big Al. In general, the Hornets are playing great as of late. They've won 5 straight and look like a legit playoff team in the East. They're playing good defense and look to finally be clicking.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. For the Wizards, guys I like, Marcin Gortat is definitely playing solid basketball. He's been hitting mid-30s consistently. I like his matchup against Al Jefferson. I don't think Al Jefferson is necessarily a premier defender by any standards. John Wall is another guy I like, and that's because we've got Mo Williams coming off no days rest, and he's not a great defender. Mo Williams gives up a lot of point guards. Reader, you were telling me earlier, what does he gives up?
Yeah, it was since the trade deadline, Charlotte has gone to the second worst against guarding the point guard. So before that, they were really doing pretty well. They're at least average. So he's really, I think that's kind of catching up to him in the defensive end.
Yep, so that being said, I think Al Jefferson, Mo Williams is a decent play, 7,500. He's definitely getting up there in price, coming off 2 days rest. He was averaging 22 fantasy points off of no days rest. So Mo Williams is not going to be in too many of my lineups. But I'm going to slot in John Wall in a decent amount of my lineups. I think the matchup is definitely there. Any other thoughts, you guys?
I agree with that. I just want to bring up John Wall has been in a bit of a slump as of late.
He certainly has.
Only 8.5 points per game over his last 3, but it's been brought up by both Reader and Cale.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a game for him to come out of the slump, it's going to be today.
Yep.
Going up against Mo Williams. So.
Yep.
Look for him to try to finally bust out of the slump him and the Wizards as a whole have been stuck in.
Moving on to our next game, Sacramento versus Atlanta. The Hawks are a 11-point favorite, 208 over-under, so it's definitely a good total from a fantasy perspective. Paul Millsap, Kyle Korver, DeMar Carroll were rested last game, so we got to see what happens. So check closer to tip-off for the status of your Atlanta Hawks. The Kings, I love Boogie. Rudy Gay playing well his last few games. What do you think, Nate?
I totally got to agree with you on Rudy Gay. He's back to his days of, chucking the ball every time he gets it on the offensive end. So I think he's going to take a lot of shots. He's probably going to get a bunch of buckets. In terms of Boogie, it's a little harder for me to predict a big game for him here, especially if Al Horford plays, just because Boogie's a player who's just so reliant on bullying people in the post, and it's a little hard to do that against Al Horford. But he's Boogie Cousins, so he's going to put up his points, get his rebounds, but it's just harder for me to put my money on him today.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. Ray McCollum, cheap option at the point guard. Not necessarily you need to play Ray McCollum today. He's more of cheap filler if you're not finding anything else. Maybe a late game contest pick. What do you think about this game, Reader?
Yeah, like you were saying, Rudy Gay is just chucking shots. He's had shot 26 and then 24 in the last 2 games and had 27 and 39 points, which is just crushing his value. So I think he's really a good option here. But against Atlanta, it's tough, but I still like him.
Yep. So DeMarcus Cousins, Rudy Gay, Ray McCollum got a 60 in the Basque Monster value ratio. So Ray McCollum is definitely going to be in a few of my lineups today. Atlanta Hawks, you got to check closer to tip-off and see which players are going to play and make your picks and adjust accordingly. Now we're going to move to Boston versus Miami. -3 for Miami. Over-under of 200. Nate's got some good stuff for us this game. What do you got?
I mean, I've said it before, and I'm just going to continue to keep saying it. I love Isaiah Thomas coming off the bench for the Celtics. Every game he's played for this Boston team, he looks just better and better. He had 21 points, 9 assists last night in a loss to Orlando, and he just has the greenest of green lights when he comes off the bench for them. He may be a little too expensive to play on a consistent basis, but he's going to keep his points. He's going to get his points every night, and he's someone to keep an eye out on.
Yep.
Also, really want to bring up Michael Beasley because I guess playing in China was just exactly what that dude needed. Because ever since the Heat signed him to a 10-day contract, he's been playing really well, averaging 11 points, 5 rebounds in the 6 games he's played. But he's coming off an 18-7 performance against the Kings the other night. I think the more exciting thing about that is he's actually starting to look involved on the court. He's playing defense, he's going after rebounds, he's diving on the floor. There's a great highlight from their last game where he's playing post defense on Boogie Cousins, and you can see that he's actually finally giving effort on the basketball court.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens when
right.
these players decide they want to try.
Right, it's exciting to see someone with his amount of talent finally put some effort in there.
The bee's knees don't mind him at all tonight. He had to go halfway around the world to find himself, he said, which I thought that was kind of funny. But, he's had 32 fantasy points in his last game and played 37 minutes. And somebody that costs $3,700 that's going to play 37 minutes, I'll probably take that all day. And he's playing, he has something to play for, like we said. So.
Absolutely. All right, I've got a question. You guys going bass fishing tonight?
I kind of don't think I am.
Reader, I know you. I saw on the Bask Monster lineup builder, you gave him a nice little thumbs down.
I don't do that often,
that's offensive. My Brandon Bass was one of our premier plays of the day in yesterday's recommended lineup, and that resulted in some high fantasy point totals, getting around 45 fantasy points for less than 5,000.
19 and 17 is really not bad.
Yeah, and you know what? It happened against. It happened against none other than Nick Vucevic-less Orlando Magic. Maybe that's something. Do you think Nick Vucevic sitting out is the reason why Brandon Bass had such a good game?
I think he would have had more if Vooch was in.
You think he would have had 20 and 20 if Vooch was playing?
That's right.
I mean,
absolutely. No, but in all seriousness, he had 17 rebounds last game. He's averaging, I think I saw 5 rebounds a game. I just don't see him putting even close to that fantasy production today against Miami. I know they're really depleted, but I don't like them that much.
Yep, and as far as Miami goes, I mean, once again, with all these injuries, you just got to check closer to tip-off, and then you go with the guys who are going to get the bulk of the minutes. Michael Beasley, going to get a lot of minutes tonight. The guy, Tyler Johnson, just won some people a ton of money 2 nights ago, I believe.
I mean, the way he's shooting the ball, it's incredible.
It's incredible.
And the Heat just keep finding these D-League guys. They got Whiteside, Johnson.
Yeah, they're definitely working hard down there. They're doing things. They're doing things the hard way.
Scouting coaches better get that paycheck.
Yeah, they better get a raise.
So the last thing about that is if Luol Deng and Whiteside are indeed out, I like Beasley even more. I think he's kind of a plug and play if those two things happen.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Next up, Memphis versus Chicago, -4.5 for the Grizzlies, over under 184.5. Let's start with the Memphis Grizzlies. I like Zach Randolph tonight against this weakened and depleted Chicago Bulls basketball team. I like Mike Conley going up against Aaron Brooks tonight because Aaron Brooks, as we've seen the last few weeks, even just since the All-Star break, Chicago's been what? They've been the worst team in the league defending the point guard. They've been even worse than the Los Angeles Lakers. Zebo, Conley, that's probably all I'm doing for the Memphis Grizzlies. Tony Allen, 4K, not a bad play at the small forward, which is a very, very weak position today. That about wraps it up for the Grizzlies side of the ball. Nate, what are you seeing as far as Chicago goes?
I mean, Chicago's been playing so poorly as of late. The only person who looks like he has a pulse out there is Pau Gasol. I love Nikola Mirotic, but he hasn't been shooting the ball well.
No, he certainly has not.
And they looked like a mess since they lost Butler and Rose. So, in general, I'm really liking the Grizzlies that cover the 4.5-point spread.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a big fan of the grit and grind down there in Memphis, and it's just Chicago's just not a super attractive side of the ball for me today.
Yep. It's really tough. It's really tough to recommend anyone with this low over-under going up against this Grizzlies defense, historically so stout. So let's move on. Let's go to our next game. For our next game, we're going to the wonderful city of Milwaukee. New Orleans versus the Bucks. Minus 1.5 for Milwaukee, 186 point over-under, which means we are going to probably see Anthony Davis in a very, very close game. And if that happens, dear God, Anthony Davis could really, really rack up the statistics in a hurry if this game gets close in the fourth quarter. I think we could see Anthony Davis almost doing every single thing for the entire Pelicans team if we get down to the 3 minute mark. It's just going to be, if Anthony Davis gets a close game, he has 70-plus point upside. Anything you're seeing from this one, Nate?
I mean, I don't know what you guys think about Chris Middleton. I think he's probably one of the best players in the league that is never talked about. He's right up there with Toby Harris down in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
But Middleton's averaging 18 and 7 over his last 10 games, been shooting lights out from downtown. So he's a guy I could see putting up some numbers in this game for the Milwaukee.
Yep, absolutely.
Bucks.
And if you look on like the season-long fantasy leagues, it keeps track of like the PRK, the position rank. Chris Middleton for small forwards is actually the 6th best small forward in the entire league for a season-long fantasy.
Yes, but at the same time, like he plays on a playoff team, and you never hear about Chris
Yep.
Middleton. You hear about the Greek Freak. You heard about Jabari earlier in the season, but Chris Middleton gets no love. But he's a damn good player.
Yeah, Chris Middleton definitely needs to be getting more credit. Anything you're seeing from this game, Reader?
Yeah, Chris Middleton was the only guy I was going to talk about. He had 49 fantasy points in his last game and played 37 minutes. So if that's going to happen at 6K, I'll take that all day.
I'll take that every single day of the week. I'm not really liking Tyreek Evans nor any other guards for the Pelicans in this one, simply because the Milwaukee Bucks defend guards very, very well. Jason Kidd's their coach. They just swarm those guards. It's not a good situation for any guards going up against the Bucks.
They're so long with MCW at point guard, Greek Freak at the 2, Chris Middleton, who I think is like 6'8", 6'9".
Yep. Not a lot of room to roam if you're a guard against these Bucks.
You got those big arms in the way. It's tough to make
It's certainly
shots.
tough, which is another reason why I think the fantasy point value is going to be extremely concentrated in Anthony Davis, and even more so if it gets to a close game. If Tyreek Evans can finally pump the brakes, slow it down, and feed the ball to the big man. The Knicks versus the Nuggets, and 2 weeks ago this game would be unspeakable. Now, it's still pretty unspeakable, so I'm just going to tell you to expose yourself to Kenneth Faried, a little bit of Wilson Chandler. For the Knicks, maybe some Bargnani. I don't really know. It's just a disgusting game. Nate, what are you seeing in this one?
I mean, you said it. It's gross, dude. I consider myself a huge NBA fan, and I feel dirty thinking about this. Just stay away. You brought up Wilson Chandler. He's coming off a big game, 26 points last night.
Yep.
You could maybe look at Gallinari as well. He was like 2 of 15 from the field.
Oh, wow.
He still put up 15 shots.
Yeah, exactly. Look for him to shoot 15 times once more.
Exactly. So maybe Gallinari. But yeah, if you watch this game, you should try to develop a little self-respect, because this is
My goodness. I'm certainly not going to be partaking in any viewing parties of this game. So let's move on to the next one. We've got Golden State versus Phoenix, -6 for the Golden State Warriors, 213 over-under, which is our highest over-under of the night, so you definitely want to have a little bit of exposure to this game. For the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, I think 3 of your primary guys you want to target. For the Phoenix Suns, Brandon Knight, I put a question mark. Eric Bledsoe, I put a question mark. PJ Tucker, I put a question mark. Just because it's a lot harder to pick this Phoenix players, because Golden State throughout the season has had pretty much an excellent defense.
Yeah, and going on that, Phoenix kind of blew up their roster, and I honestly haven't been playing well since they did that, so it's tough to kind of predict how this new Phoenix team is going to perform, especially going up against arguably the best team in the league.
Yep, and Brandon Knight, the entire year was an excellent defender of the point guard position, but also we see with Milwaukee how they're still defending the point guard position very well. Clearly it was a lot of Brandon Knight, but clearly it was a lot of help from the Greek Freak Chris Middleton.
That length
we talked about earlier for the Milwaukee Bucks, I think could have padded Brandon Knight's defensive stats just a tiny bit. I still think he's a bulldog on the defensive end, but obviously no amount of bulldogishness can stop what Steph Curry's doing right now. He's just playing a video game. He's playing a video game.
I mean, everyone saw that highlight. That's absurd. If we were talking about this, Cale and I, we play a lot of pickup basketball, but if we were in the gym by ourselves, we'd hit that shot maybe 1 out of 20 times by ourselves.
1 out of 20, maybe.
He did it with the best defensive point guard in the league on him, plus 2 help side defenders, and he made it look like he's just messing around.
He is messing around. At this point, he is messing around. He truly, it's incredible. You saw what Steve Kerr did after he did that play. He just started laughing. And anytime you as a player, you see your coach have that sort of confidence in your ability, just giving you the green light at all times. Steph Curry right now, he may have. Oh, Steph Curry's a very humble athlete. He's incredible, but he may be the most confident athlete in the world right now. It's just like what he's doing with this basketball, the way he's handling it, the way he's making these impossible shots look so easy. Goodness gracious.
You don't take that shot unless your confidence is through the roof. So.
Yep.
A guy I want to bring up, you already brought him up, but Draymond Green was someone we highlighted before yesterday's Clippers-Warriors game, and he went out and had a big game. I think he had like 23, 6, and 4. He also had one of the all-time great stare downs after Dante Jones bumped into him after the game. But anyway, I think he could do something similar tonight. In a similar vein, I would try to stay away from the Morai twins on the field side of the ball, because they're going to have to go up against Draymond Green when they're on the court,
yep.
and he's an incredible defender. So I don't like this matchup for the Morai.
Yep, Draymond Green just does not make it fun if you're the opposing power forward.
Exactly.
He really does, and that's what all defenders do. All defenders, in essence, what they do is just they make it suck for you to be out there on the court. And Draymond Green makes it suck for you to be out there on the court just because he's constantly pestering you. He never gives you any space. He's constantly fouling you. Good players get away with a lot of fouls. Draymond Green is constantly fouling you. You have to deal with his physicality. Oh, man. It helps that it's in Phoenix, I think, for Draymond Green, but maybe not going to get away with as many of those fouls as he would at home. But yeah, Draymond Green, definitely an excellent candidate to target. Let's move on to our next game. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Clippers are a 7.5-point favorite, over under 208. The entire Clippers roster is in play with no Jamal Crawford or Blake Griffin. It's seriously, it's 30 shots a game that the other players are just forced to absorb. It's just raining extra shots in Los Angeles, which is why I have CP3 in most of my lineups, assuming he plays. DeAndre Jordan could absolutely erupt at any moment in this one. JJ Redick's projected almost 30 fantasy points. Austin Rivers has a value ratio in the 60s on Basketball Monster. It's just Christmas picking these Los Angeles Clippers today. What are your thoughts on the Clippers side of the ball?
I really think I like JJ Redick the most out of all those Clippers players that you brought up. He has a favorable matchup going.
Certainly does.
Kevin Martin, who's he's a minus defender, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
JJ Redick's also averaging almost 20 and 5 over his last 5 games, so he's playing well, he's playing confident, and like you said, there's going to be 30 more shots distributed amongst the Clippers players with no Jamal Crawford or Blake Griffin. So I'm looking for JJ Redick to have a big game today.
Yep, certainly. For Minnesota, I like Pekovic at his $4,600 price tag. If his minutes have been increasing. He sat out a game, then he played 15 minutes, and then his next game he played 26 minutes, and then he got a day off. So I'm assuming if it continues on that trend that Pekovic is going to see around 30 minutes. And for 30 minutes at $4,600, I love that price tag for Nick Pekovic. Going up against DeAndre Jordan. DeAndre Jordan is obviously an elite athlete defending the center position. But Nick Pekovic is a big human being himself.
Nick Pekovic, I love just for the fact that he looks like a Bond villain. Like he should be a henchman for.
He should. He should have metal teeth.
Right, and throw his hat and
exactly
cut people's heads off. But
exactly.
I like Pekovic as well. Also, I honestly really like Wiggins here. The kid's the real deal. Let's be honest. 5 years from now, I think he's a top 3 player in the league. Mm-hmm. Face of the NBA going forward. More related to this game, he's averaging 20.6 points per game over his last 7 games, and he's just looked really smooth lately. He's finally displaying some confidence on the offensive end, and I really think the addition of Kevin Garnett and the veteran leadership that trade brought has really helped Andrew Wiggins. He just looks more assertive,
absolutely,
more confident since Garnett came, and I like him tonight.
And I think just the fact that Austin Rivers is going to be on the court for 30 minutes in this game is an awesome idea to pick Andrew Wiggins. Just because an athlete of Andrew Wiggins' caliber, being on the same floor as Austin Rivers, is just going to give him all the confidence in the world, especially some guy who's in a similar age. He's just going to be running circles around Austin Rivers. I think it's going to inflate his ego, and Andrew Wiggins is just going to light him up.
I think that you bring up
they don't even have to be guarding each other. Just the fact that he's going to see Austin Rivers out there is going to make him play better.
Exactly. And this point that you just brought up, I think it speaks to the Clippers' issues as a whole. Like, this is a team that thinks they should be competing for an NBA championship. And honestly, with the talent they have, they should be. But it's hard to win an NBA championship when Austin Rivers is playing 31 minutes a game for your team.
It's impossible to win a championship.
He's a marginal NBA player at best.
No, marginal is he's horrible.
I mean, you look at he's just not that great of a player, and he's forced to play a ton of minutes for this team, and that worries me. Regarding their playoff chances once the games start to matter. So it's something to watch.
Absolutely. I look forward to viewing this game. I think this is going to be a very, very exciting, fast-paced, high-scoring game. Ricky Rubio versus Chris Paul. I think Chris Paul is going to come out on top in that matchup. Yep. Especially Chris Paul right now is just on such a mission. His role in the offense has changed from being the primary facilitator, a guy who's going to get you maybe 14 points, 16 points, and 15 assists. Now Chris Paul's looking to get you 25, 26 points every single time he steps out on the court because he simply has to. He has no other choice.
Right, and this is just another example of, I think we're in the point guard renaissance right now.
Absolutely.
In the NBA. When you just get matchups like this on a consistent nightly basis, Rubio's put up 5 straight double-doubles. He's playing really well. He had a triple-double a couple nights ago. But he's got to go up against Chris Paul, one of the best defenders of the point guard position in the league, and so it's fun. This like you said, this is gonna be a fun game. The Wolves, not a good team, but they're fun to watch. They're gonna throw some oops. They're gonna hit some threes.
Maybe Zach LaVine will get out there and start trying to run in the air.
Exactly. So this is gonna be a fun game. A lot of fantasy interest in this.
Absolutely. So now let's move on to the recommended lineup for today. Today was a doozy making you guys a lineup. It really was. It was not very much fun today.
A lot of preparation, a lot of pre-game.
A lot of what ifs, a lot of question marks today. So clearly this is a very, very tentative lineup. Things are subject to change without notice. So let's break down this lineup right here. Kicking it off the point guard position, we've got Chris Paul, just because we just talked about his role in the offense. JJ Redick projected 30 fantasy points on Bask Monster. Matt Barnes, so that's 3 Clippers. So you're clearly seeing in which direction I'm leaning tonight. And I think it's a smart idea.
And you weren't lying when you said every Clipper's in play.
Every Clipper's in play. I'm not joking. Even Austin Rivers, even Austin.
It hurts to say, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Brandon Bass, I'm going bass fishing. Reader Hunt, who had to sadly exit the podcast to go to class. In case you were wondering. He is not playing Brandon Bass today. Brandon Bass won me a lot of money last night. If you guys listen to the breakdown, he probably won you some money too. Anytime you get a 4.9K player getting you almost 50 fantasy points.
Yeah, we're gonna ride the Bass train.
Yeah, we're gonna go bass fishing all day today. Tougher matchup, but I think that I honestly think he likes playing with Isaiah Thomas.
He's been playing well. A lot of Isaiah's assists have been coming to Brandon Bass.
That deep knee bend jumper, man. When he's feeling it, look out. Nick Pekovic at the center slot. He's just such a great value today. I think DeAndre Jordan could easily dominate him. He could get in foul trouble trying to keep up with DeAndre. But if Nick Pekovic gets 30 minutes, I think he's a double-double candidate. DeAndre Jordan gobbles up all the boards for the Clippers, but the Clippers aren't a great rebounding team, which is another reason I like Pekovic. Marcus Smart at the point guard slot. I don't feel too confident about this pick. Bask Monster was on him. He was a cheap play for the guard slot. Hopefully Marcus Smart does well. I think he's got a decent matchup today.
I mean, he does. And this is where we're getting to the point in the lineup where you're trying to find value.
Of course. So just look for Marcus Smart to get 18, 19 fantasy points. Forward, we're going with Kenneth Faried against the Knickerbockers, just because there's no team worse in the NBA. And Kenneth Faried, now that the leash is cut off from that Brian Shaw situation. Kenneth Reed has been putting up some excellent numbers. And DeMarcus Cousins at the center position. I thought about going Rudy Gay. Thought about going Gay today. I decided to play Boogie Monster instead, just because I think he's any given night he's a candidate for 60 fantasy points. So this is a contest lineup, definitely more risky, definitely a lot more upside. This is not necessarily a cash game recommendation. Use this for your contest. Best of luck. Hope you have a tremendous day. Remember to follow us on Twitter at The Breakdown NBA. Follow Nate Svensson at Swede for President on Twitter. Follow me at BC Hammer Time on Twitter. And do me a favor and go check out RT Fantasy Sports blog for the best fantasy sports information out there floating around on Twitter. They just retweet the best blogs, the best analysis, the best numbers, the best projections. Also check out Slim Daddy Wins or the wageradvisorygroup.com. Check them out. They're on fire as of late. They're just making their clients a ton of money. Be sure to check them out. That's about it for me. Hope you listen. Hope you had a great time. Hope your lineup's cash.
Yeah.
See you later.
Enjoy the games tonight, and thanks for listening.
Adios.